A From Dublin to Cleveland production.
Hello and welcome to From Dublin to Cleveland. I am Logan Howard. I am joined by myself today, no Brendan. But what we're going to be doing is this is going to be my summer series. As most of you know, I'm working at a camp this summer, so a lot of my weeks are going to be very busy and kind of stressful. So fitting in recording schedules is going to be kind of difficult, especially as we get into July. So I am starting recording some of these because I want to get ahead of them and I want to be able to get these out to you guys throughout the summer. So what these are going to be is going to be 5 to 10 minutes, and we're going to be going over the fear of the Lord. Now this is a concept that I've kind of been very interested in growing up because I've heard people use the phrase, speak about it, but I've never really had an in-depth look at what is the fear of the Lord and what does it mean and what are all the references and what does it talk about. So according to the New King James, which is the Bible I use, they have about 23 references of that are exactly the fear of the Lord. And so they come up in some interesting stories, especially early on. So the first one we're going to talk about today and a couple others as well. I'll talk about this idea of the fear of the Lord being a conviction or a reason for doing something, or a spirit falling upon people and they're doing this thing. So it's this idea of going and doing something after the spirit of the Lord has fallen on you, this conviction of I need to do something. And so this is the fear of the Lord falling on us as it moves us to do something. And so that will be part one, is the Spirit of the Lord. I'm confusing Spirit of the Lord, but the fear of the Lord. But here we go. The fear of the Lord is, it moves us to action. So the fear of the Lord moves us to action. So let's get into it. Let's get into what God's Word says for us today. So we're going to be in 1 Samuel, and it will be 1 Samuel 11 and 7. And so to set the scene here, this is Saul. He is just been anointed king, and he is getting this, he's had this group come and say they were asking for help militarily. And so he sees that he wants to go help them and take care of them because they're weeping. And so it says in verse 6, and the Spirit of God came upon Saul when he heard those tidings. His anger was greatly kindled. So he is very upset in this moment. And so he takes a yoke of oxen, he hews them in pieces, cuts them up, sends them throughout the coasts of Israel by the hands of the messengers, saying, whoever comes forth who does not come after Saul and after Samuel, so shall it be done unto his oxen. And the fear of the Lord fell on the people, and they came out with one consent. So this is kind of a negative look. The first one is kind of, it seems like they're just doing this because Saul told them to. But if you see in verse 6, the Spirit of the Lord falls upon Saul to do this. So Saul makes an example, and the people follow right after him. So the Spirit, or this fear of the Lord, falls on them. And so again, I'm going to keep getting those two mixed up for the most of this episode, at least. Hopefully going forward, it'll focus more on the fear of the Lord and I'll get it right and not Spirit of the Lord. But it seems like it's a spirit here. It seems like it's a conviction. It's a passion. It's a desire to go forth. So that's the first look we have. If you'd flip over with me to Second Chronicles. So there's going to be 3 more for this episode in here from Chronicles. But the next one we're going to have here is from Second Chronicles 14:14. Second Chronicles 14:14 says this, and they smote all the cities. They wiped out all the cities around Greer, for the fear of the Lord came upon them, and they spoiled all the cities, for there was exceedingly much spoil in them. So this is one of the good kings of Israel here. We're talking about Asa. So he was an obedient reign, and he went out into battle, asked for God's help to help him with his battle. And once they have gone out to battle, they wiped everything out because they were very afraid. They were very convicted to do this and fight for the Lord. So another good example of this conviction, this passion for the fear of the Lord, and it moves us to do something. Moving on to the next one here, it is going to be again in Second Chronicles. It will be in 17:10. Second Chronicles 17:10. And this one says, "And the fear of the Lord fell upon all the kingdoms of the land that they were around Judah, so that they made no war against Jehoshaphat." And this one, again, seems like it's a conviction, but now it's happening to Israel's enemies. It's this fear of the Lord's presence and his destruction upon the other nations. So it's a respect, it's a conviction, it's a respect of God. And again, it moves them to do something. And this time, they don't go to war with him. They do not do anything with Jehoshaphat. They are not doing it. And again, Jehoshaphat, a good king, reigned really well in Judah, and led the children of Israel well. And so then that leads us to our last one for here, episode 1 of the Fear of the Lord series. It leads us to Second Chronicles in chapter 19, and it will be in verses 7, 8, and 9. So in verse 7 it says, "Wherefore ever now let the fear of the Lord be upon you. Take heed and do it, for there is no iniquity with the Lord our God, nor respecter of persons, nor taking of gifts. Moreover in Jerusalem did Jehoshaphat set of the Levites, and of the priests, and of the chief fathers of Israel, and of the judgment of the Lord for the controversies when they returned to Jerusalem. And he charged them, saying, Thus ye shall do in the fear of the Lord faithfully and with a perfect heart." So this is Jehoshaphat. He is charging, appointing judges. He's charging the people to live right, and to have the spirit, or again, the fear of the Lord upon you and upon his people. And it's a conviction. Again, it moved them to do the right thing, to remove iniquity, to respect people and not steal gifts or take bribes, and to live faithfully with a perfect heart. So today's focus was fully on, or this episode is fully on this conviction and moving us to do something. So the fear of the Lord coming upon us moves us to do things. When you respect God, when you believe in God, when you see him for who he truly is, he moves you to do things. Now, these Old Testament stories were maybe some crazy examples, but the fear of the Lord needs to move us to live right before God, first and foremost. But it also moves us to different places. How did all the missionaries get to where they are? They had a fear of the Lord that this is what I need to do. And sometimes their fear of the Lord outweighed their fear of people or fear of places or things. There are many missionaries that will tell you when you ask them, why'd you go there? They'll say, well, I never saw this place because I hated this country, or didn't want to go to this area, or said no, and God moved me there anyway. So we do things because God moves us, his conviction upon us. So the fear of the Lord, respecting the Lord, moves us to do the right thing. So with that, hopefully that may be impressed upon your heart this whenever you're listening to this episode. And I just pray that hopefully that you'll take some time and just ask. I ask now, you just pray for me and for our camp, Bethany Camp, just that God would work in our hearts, that he would move us to do the right thing, to go talk to those campers that need talked to say the things we need to say. And even pray for your own heart, that God would move you to where he needs you to be and wants you to be. I am always going to be a big cheerleader of people going and serving the Lord. You guys have kind of got to see a really cool insight to my story of going from in 2020 working at a regular secular job, and God has moved me into living and going and doing camp ministry, and you guys gotten to be a part of it, maybe vicariously or far away, but I really appreciate the support. And so Hopefully you enjoyed our podcast today. Again, Brendan's not here. That's okay. He's going to be doing little things throughout the summer. His might be a little more fun than mine are, but hopefully I can give you some good, solid grounding from God's Word here in this podcast, and it hopefully it'll affect your life. It'll encourage your life, and you'll be able to use this and share this with other people. So, hopefully, you have a wonderful day today. Thank you all for listening, and we will see you all next time. Bye, friends.